pressure in control. Man, that looks great.
Jets! Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are few things in life you cannot put a price on. Loyalty, tradition, fierce passion. Today is a gigantic family reunion because finally, they're back.
Well, hello, everybody. Look at us with an impromptu Saturday video. I am GreenBean, and welcome to the show today. I'm in such a good mood. I had to just get with you guys and make another video. This will be a pretty concise one. I have some specific ideas that I want to talk to you about. Now, before I do, I want to remind you that you can do a really, really beautiful thing for the whole entire universe by clicking on that little thumbs up button that lets YouTube know that the guy over here is doing okay. You know, this guy's all right. And if you want to be involved on a little bit deeper basis, you go ahead and you hit that subscribe button, and that's even better. And on top of that, I want to just tell everybody, my Beanbaggers group, my Patreon, the Beanbaggers, is growing by the day. I had 4 more people join this week. It's super exciting. All you have to do to get involved with the Beanbaggers is to click on the link at the top of this description, and you will get to pick your tier. There are different benefits with each tier, of course. And come on in. We're having an absolute blast. I can't wait for the 10 o'clock mock this week. I'm going to show you guys what my private Beanbaggers mock looked like. I think you're going to like it. It's a really different route. We took a totally different route to get there. But man, do I think the end result was slam dunk, man. It was good. So guys, I want to get together with you and talk about a few things. On the Thursday thick of it this week with Frankie, we got to dive into the press conference with Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan, our assistant GM, right? I like to call him the vice GM, as Joe Douglas is the president, but he's our assistant GM. He's Joe Douglas's right-hand man. And then in addition to that, he obviously has guys like Phil Savage, Chad Alexander, and on and on and on from there. It's probably the most well-respected and organized and well thought of in NFL circles staff, front office staff that we've ever had, at least since Dick Steinberg. Now, you can argue that the Bill Parcells regime was also well respected as well. But as far as personnel decisions outside of that 2000 draft, Bill Parcells was not really strong on that end. So going back from, all the way to 95 with Dick Steinberg, he was the last legitimate general manager that we've had. We had some fun with Tannenbaum, of course, Trader Mike. He did some good things. You can't take it away. But the truth is, the guy was an accountant. Then we went from him to John Idzik, another accountant. Why did we have to get another accountant? Well, because the Jets decided to keep Rex Ryan. They said whoever's coming on board has to have our coach. So a lot of people are going to say, screw that. I don't want to do that. That's what happened. We got John Idzik. It was a shit show for 2 years. We left him and then went dumpster diving for Mike McCagnon, gave him 5 whole drafts and 5 off seasons. And I think there are maybe one, right? Quinnen Williams. We just lost Fatukasi, Marcus May. There's just about no Mike McCagnon players on the team just a couple years later. That's how bad it was. So we have Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan. They gave a pretty good press conference. They talked about things like parity in the wide receiver group and some other groups, which could lead us to start thinking about the idea of where they would prioritize different positions. If you think one position is top heavy, you're more than likely to try to get a guy from that group if you need him. as opposed to another group that you see having parity and, the players maybe still being at a higher caliber later in the draft. We call that less drop off, right? That's kind of how we talk about that. There's significantly less drop off in this position than maybe the other position. So we talk about that. And it was a good press conference and we could take a lot out of it. But this week, just yesterday, Joe Douglas was on the Michael Kay show. And it was an entirely different deal. Now, look, it was riddled with GM speech and, all the normal stuff. But there was a few things that Joe Douglas let out of the bag that actually show a much clearer picture of the intricate details of how he thinks. And it was really important. Now, number one, I'll leave the big one for last, right? But I'm going to start and tell you a few things. Number one, he talked about, let me get you this thing here. Hold on. He talked about Mekhi Becton, right? Now, so Mekhi Becton, as we know, a lot of people are upset that he didn't show up to voluntary. And a lot of people look at it with many different, vantage points. Some people are saying it shows that he doesn't care. He's not engaged with the team. I've even had a couple comments too, actually, that insinuated that the fact that he's not there and the staff doesn't care shows that they're already looking beyond him. Now, I don't think any of that is the case. I do think that it has to do with very specific things. Now, Joe Douglas went into the fact that his girlfriend is about to give birth any day now. He did mention that. As we know, Connor McGovern was not at camp either. His wife, just a day or two ago, had a lovely baby girl. So we have a new McGovern in the world. And so he was not at minicamp either. But Joe Douglas actually brought up the pregnancy, which a few people said to me that we were making it up, that it's never been said. We're just trying to look for excuses. Now, I get it. But Joe Douglas did talk about the pregnancy. He mentioned that. And he also was asked about the contact with him. So what are you seeing? Wouldn't you rather have him at the facility? Now he went really far into this and he said, look, we would always prefer to have 100%. That's just what we want. That's our goal, is to have every single person in the building. He said, but we have had extensive communication with Mekhi Becton's team, agent, and his trainer, Duke Manyweather. So he said that he's involved in a rehab program and that they're totally fine with it, that they weren't even expecting him up there. He did mention the birth, and he said that Mekhi Becton's checking in often. So the words he used were, the communication is strong. So those are really good words. And he really seemed, now again, Joe Douglas is not one to show his hand too much, but he seemed absolutely just disengaged with the whole drama of it all. He was like, it's not a big deal. And it's interesting because later in the interview, he did sound beaten up. And I'll get to that in a second. So you could say Joe Douglas is just a good poker player, and to some extent he is. But he also will tell you when he's actually bent out of shape about something. His demeanor changes. Before we get to that one, I want to just bring up another one that he talked about was good old Zachy boy. Now, where did my little thing lay? All right, so he talked about Zach Wilson, and he was asked the question, do you still see greatness there? Like, obviously, you drafted him with the second overall pick. What you had him for a year. What do you see? And he went as far as to say, look, last year, Zach went through it. Zach went through an absolute tumultuous season. He said that he was dragged over the ringer, was how he said it. And he said, and he took a step toward the end of the season. He said he ran the offense efficiently. He got one turnover in 6 games, which is super smart. It's not smart, super positive. And then he went as far as to say he was out there without all of his weapons. He said most of his guys, his skill guys, weren't there. And he ran it so efficiently that the turnovers were down. That would have actually been an opportunity to have an excuse to have things collapse. We even had Feeney and McDermott on the offensive line. The last game, even AVT was out. So he was playing with a half deck at best. Joe Douglas talked about all those details and said that he's absolutely super confident about Zach, and brought up his national tour, his world tour, that he's out there meeting with all his skill guys. And he said it's so important to see him taking the reins on this one and actually going out and doing this on his own volition. He's not just being mandated to do stuff. He desires building the chemistry and the camaraderie with his teammates, with his skill guys. And he said that's the goal. Like, that's what we're trying to do here. And Zach's taking it upon himself, not just setting up one little day and everybody comes and they take pictures and everything. He went around the country, as we already know, and did this on his own, meeting with the different guys. He did Berrios and Michael Carter down in Miami. He did Nashville with Corey Davis, and then he did Arizona with some more guys. So it was really, really cool to hear Joe Douglas acknowledge that, because it's not always that we hear the details, guys. Like, we don't always hear their thoughts on, what it's like to play with third and fourth stringers, what it's like inside of all that, what they're really looking at. So again, I mean, you can make out of it what you will, but it was nice to hear him talk about that and acknowledge the stuff that we all saw. I mean, we're out here arguing one way or the other, and Joe Douglas usually would stay above all that detail stuff, but he ended up talking about it. Now, two more things. One is that, like I said before, when he was talking about Becton and he seemed really nonchalant, like it was not bothering him in the slightest, they asked him how close he thought he was in the Tyreek Hill trade. Did you think that you were going to have it? And you got to listen to this interview, man. It's his whole demeanor changes. He gets quiet and he gets all like pregnant pauses. And he was like, yeah, that's how he sounded. The truth is they thought they were getting Tyreek Hill. Miami swooped in and stole him. They asked him if he thought there was anything that he could have done more. He said no. He thought that the trade package they put together was enough, more than enough. He thought that it was going to get done, and he was disappointed that we weren't able to add a player of that caliber to the offense. So again, it's not so much that he's upset. It's not so much that he thought he had it or anything. It's the ability to see the demeanor change so you can use that in future communications to make out of it maybe a little bit more truth. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's good to see that he has those dips. So when he is, able to stay positive or upbeat, that it might just be sincere. Thought that was fascinating. Now, they asked him about whether or not when a player says, hey, I want out of this team, why does the player end up getting their trade, getting their wish, when another school of thinking would say, hey, screw you, you're under contract, you don't play, you don't get paid. That's the way it is. And he talked a little bit about every situation being different, but he talked about Jamal Adams and what that situation looked like. They cut him off and they said, does John Schneider even take your calls anymore? Because clearly you fleeced him, right? And he laughed a little bit. He talked very positively about John Schneider. He's very, he didn't gloat or anything. He didn't talk about the trade. He actually was complimentary about, them winning the division that year and all that stuff. But on this one, I was really more interested in hearing guys like Michael K and LaGreca being able to say to Joe Douglas, dude, you crushed that trade. And to see how he reacted to that. He did get a little chuckle out of it, which was good. Now, the big one, guys. This is the one that really it inspired me to make the video today. Okay? They were asking him about his draft philosophy. He said a lot of the stuff that he said in the other interview with Rex Hogan. We do this if we get 4 or 10 players we like at a position. We're happy. So, that's really what we want to do, and blah, blah, blah. They asked him if he's a best player available person or if he is a need person. He said, oh, we're best player available all day. That's how we ride. If we take the best available player on our board. Then they said this, but Joe, if you're looking at the board and the best available player is Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, you're not going to take them, right? You're going to, I mean, are you going to take him because he's the best available player up at 4 or 10? And this is the keynote, and it shows us so much, guys. He said, when I say best player available, what I mean is the best player available for this team. That is the biggest thing that Joe Douglas has said. That is the closest thing to a hand tip that we've ever hoped for. And quite frankly, guys, it's what I've been saying for the last 3 years with you guys. Best player available is significantly smarter than reaching for need, right? You guys have heard me say it a million times. You don't want to get caught reaching for need, which the Jets have done 1,000 times in the past. You don't want to reach for need. You want to take the best player, but you want to take the best available player at a position of need over just best available player. So optimally, you want to be able to take, if you have an edge and a cornerback at the same position, just as an example, you want to be able to take the edge. Why? Because we don't have one. Yes, we have Carl Lawson. We took Bradley and we got Jabari Zuniga. We got Bryce Huff. But the truth is we do not have a premium edge rusher without any concerns. We don't know what Carl Lawson is. So the cornerback, on the other hand, you might not love them, but we've put a lot of assets into that and blah, blah, blah. We have players that did well there. So you would want to be able to take the best available player at a position you need. And he clarified that, man. He said, no, what I'm saying, and I'm telling you, I'm even surprised that he went that far with it because he's not usually prone to that. He said, what I'm saying is the best available player for the New York Jets. And that is it, guys. That's the most clear that we've ever heard Joe Douglas. He said, I built through the draft. He said the best player available, blah, 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 blah. He's talked a little bit about how he creates the board, but he's never told us, I'm looking for the best available player at a position we need. Now, he also said something that said, hey, a luxury today could be a necessity tomorrow. He learned that from Ozzie Newsome. So it's not to say that he can't draft a guy like an Ike Ekwonu or an Evan Neal or or a Sauce Gardner or one of those guys. It doesn't. So he kept that door open. Just because it doesn't look like a need right now doesn't mean it won't be in the near future. So that could mean a whole mess of stuff. It could mean we're trading someone. It could mean that they maybe they're not re-signing George Fant. Don't forget, guys, Joe Douglas has been negotiating with George Fant. We've had at least 2 reports that I've seen that Joe Douglas has been in contact trying to work out an extension for George Fant for at least a few months. So Joe Douglas might already know it's never going to get done. So what is that? What does that mean? If the best available player on your board is a tackle and you already have a 90% chance of not re-signing George Fant, doesn't matter what Becton is. We need a tackle. So maybe they're going to do that. It's interesting. But again, guys, I think the most important thing out of this interview for me was the clarification. He's said best player available the entire time he's been here. This was the first time he said best player available for the New York Jets. And it shows. It shows us. And that's what we've seen, quite frankly. The first year, we took a tackle and a wide receiver. Those were the 2 most glaring needs on the team. We needed offensive line. We needed a damn weapon in here. We didn't have anything, right? And we've seen that go on that way since. The only one I could say maybe was a little bit off of what I thought was Elijah Moore in the second round. I didn't think we were going wide receiver that early in last year's draft. But so you see, it does go a little bit both ways. But that's what I got for you guys. So I want to check a few comments. I'm just going to go in here, spend about 3 or 4 minutes taking your comments. Lucas says we want Debo. You shouldn't say we, Lucas. You should say I. That's an I statement. Not everybody does. Not everybody. A lot of people do, though. In your defense, submission 72. He said I would get Icky at 4 in a heartbeat between him or Tibbs. Best player available. He's talking to our buddy Cadoza there. Yeah, I don't know. I personally, again, we don't have the inside scoop on exactly what's going on out there. We just don't. We don't know what the negotiations have looked like with George Fant. We don't know how Saleh and LaFleur really feel about Becton or Corey Davis or Denzel Mims or Jabari Zuniga. You don't know. Maybe Saleh and Ulbricht are huge Jabari Zuniga and Bryce Huff fans. They don't even want an edge rusher. You know what I mean? So there's all that sort of stuff that we don't get. We don't get that information. At the same time, we are not known as a stupid fan base. We might be eccentric. We might be rambunctious. We might even touch on the word assholes from time to time. But one thing we are is we are an educated fan base. We have oodles and oodles of information, and the large chunk of us is actually seeking to learn. So that's one thing. When you look at it, some things just don't make sense. But you got to remember, we don't have all the information. Pigbird, what's up, Pigbird? He says, Tibbs at 4, JMO at 10. You're welcome. Well, you're not alone with that one, right? And I saw an article today. They said that a few NFL execs, you know how they do that, have talked about that they see Jamison Williams as an elite game-breaking wide receiver. So you might not even see him at 10. If that's how a lot of teams feel, I mean, it's going to, whether or not Atlanta takes a quarterback this year, we don't know. I think that they have a good shot of doing just that if the guy they like is there, obviously. But I don't know, man. I think Atlanta might just go ahead and grab a wide receiver. They've been decimated over the past 2 years. Think about it. 2 years ago, they had Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, and now they added Kyle Pitts, and now they got nobody. You know what I mean? So Steven, what's up, Steven? He says, Debo only for a second and late rounder, possibly a future late round addition. Any more is a waste. You know, I gotta say, while I'm not one of the people that are like, at all costs, get Debo, doesn't matter. Like, that's not me. At the same time, I'm also closer to the middle of this than you are, Steven. I would think second and a third would probably be my cap. They could get maybe a second and a next year second out of me. Probably. If I knew it was like a done deal. But again, I factor in that $28 million. That's hard for me to get around. Dude, 2 years ago when they gave Amari Cooper $20 million a year, I laughed. I was like, what? Since when are wide receivers getting $20 million? In 2 years, it went up to 30. You want to talk about inflation, boy. So I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle there. I would love to get Debo Samuel. Let's be real here. 1,400 yards in the air, another almost 400 on the ground, 14 touchdowns. Shit, man. What's not to like, right? Let's see. B2B checking in. 2022, better roster, good cap room, and tons of draft capital, right? And this is the funny part about it. Like, for the guys that are upset and not really behind Joe Douglas yet, which there's a case to be made, right? You got to look at it. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you have to at least consider he spent the last 2 years trying to accumulate assets, get rid of the dead cap, get rid of players that aren't going to be valuable to us, get as many draft picks as you can. This is the year he gets to use it. So why would we be upset with any results before he uses the assets that he accumulated, right? It's funny. It's funny to me. GM's Island Empire. GM's Island Empire 2. What's up, buddy? All defense in the first, 2 picks, but a scenario of Washington trade from 4 to 11 and first round pick next year from Washington and McLaurin added. Yeah, I would love it. That was one of the trades that we used in the 10 o'clock mock. And let me tell you, out of all the trades that we came up with for that, that was my favorite. Sliding down to 11 from 4, having 10 and 11 in the draft, and getting Terry McLaurin. Holy cow. And next year's first. Yeah, dude. I would do that in a heartbeat. I might even try to get like a 7th on it. Something. You know what I mean? So, you know what's funny, though? At the end of the show, guys, listen to this. At the end of the show, they actually asked him, they told him they did a poll of Jets fans. Should they go offense or defense in the first? For both picks, 70-something% was defense and 20-something% was offense. So Joe Douglas said, what were the numbers again? And they told him 70%. He said, okay, so they want DD, do they? And he said, yeah. And he said, okay, got it. You know what I mean? It was just funny to hear. He's like, wait, what? What did they say? So I think he, not that we could ever really influence what he's saying, but again, we're not known as an uneducated fan base. Again, we got all kinds of issues over here, but we're known as a fan base that knows their shit. We might be rooting for the wrong team all these years, but hey, let's see. Jets Carpetbagger, what's up? He says, do you think there's more value in trade downs? They give us picks for next year instead of more picks this year. I do. And here's exactly why. We have 9 picks in this year's draft. We did have 10. We actually had 11 but we traded for Shaq Lawson when Carl Lawson went down, and we obviously traded our other 6. We had 2 sixths as well. So we traded the other one for Joe Flacco. Now, so we have 9 picks. That's right at the limit of how many rookies you want to bring in. Now, because we're still going to bring in undrafted free agents and everything. So having the 9 picks, so even though you might not have as premium of picks if you slide down a little bit, but getting picks for next year's draft, 2 reasons that they're more valuable. Again, we only have 7. Well, now we have 6 because of the Blake Cashman trade. We have an extra 6 next year. But you have, essentially, we have 7, 8 picks, right, for next year. So getting another one to bolster that draft class is better because this draft class is already bolstered. It's already got tons of support. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths. So we're good. The other thing is this. Technically speaking, as far as the value system goes, next year's picks, you're going to get a round higher. All right. So if you're getting a 2nd round pick this year, essentially that would mean, or a 3rd round pick this year, that means that it's a 2nd round next year. So you could actually talk them into giving you a higher pick next year than you could this year. If you're making a trade and you say, hey, I want a 3rd, then I can't give you, or I'll give you a 30. Say, hey, second thought, give me a 2nd next year. People love that because shit, yeah, it's in the future. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. So they're likely to give you more capital, higher valued capital later than they are now. Does that make sense? So you could, if you're already stocked, doing it that way could be a really smart idea because you don't need the capital right now, and for your future gets stronger. So I think that would be a better idea. Eric Craig, my friend, what's up, Eric? JD is the answer this franchise spent 50 years looking for. Hey man, look, Eric, we don't know what the results are going to be, right? We don't know. And like I said, I'm still not entirely sold on Saleh. I'm not. I like him. There's lots I like, but I'm still nervous about that guy and what he can do, and Ulbricht and some others. But as far as Joe Douglas, outside of the hiring of said coach, I love the manner in which he's tearing this thing down. Like, I just love it. I love it. So, and then the way, like using it to acquire picks, revamping the medical, the training, like it's just such an overhaul. And I thought we needed it forever. I really wanted it for a long time. And I was always disappointed when our GMs would come in and fucking keep Terry Bradway. I'm like, why is this guy still here? Like that kind of stuff. Submissions back. Here's my prediction on the top 4 positions: defensive end, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker. I do not think cornerback will be one of those unless it ends up being Sauce because he's the best player on the board. I just don't think we're going cornerback in this draft. I don't think we need to. As you get later in the draft, they're just looking for the best athletes. That can happen, but I don't know. I struggle with that. I happen to agree with the other ones, though. Matt A. I'll do one more after Matt. What's up, Matt? He says, from what I heard, JD isn't picking Kayvon Thibodeau. They're looking for high character guys that live and breathe football. Again, here's what I'll tell you, Matt. When you look at all the stuff that we hear, it's 99% bullshit and 99% incorrect. Let me ask you this. They talk about what they're hearing and all this stuff all day long. Did any of them tell us about Vinny Curry re-signing before it happened? Did any? Why didn't they know? That's not even all that of an important one. I didn't see any. Maybe you can correct me. I didn't see anybody saying, hey, the Jets are going to be bringing back Vinny Curry this week. Nobody knows. Why didn't they know that? So if you don't even know if the Jets are going to bring Vinny Curry back, with all due respect to Vinny Curry, he's a guy that's just so low on the radar because of what happened last year, his age, everything. I mean, a lot of people thought his career was over. So if you can't even get that nugget from the Jets, why would I believe that they know anything about who they're drafting with the 4th overall pick? You know what I mean, Matt? So I think the stuff on Kayvon Thibodeau is mostly smokescreen from teams that want him to slip. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, let me get to another one. What's up, Snoopy, Anthony, Robbie Oak? I see you guys. I see you, man. You guys are the best. Keep it simples here. Let's see. Dre Wireless. What's up, Dre? He says the best in the group, in the wide receiver group, is Christian Watson, North Dakota State. Coverage nightmare. He's who we should pursue. I would love to get Christian Watson in the 2nd round. And I think he's probably going to be there. Maybe not, but I think he's got at least a 50-50 shot of being there at 35. The problem I have with Christian Watson, and I watched a lot of Christian Watson, is that some of his biggest numbers are against teams like Albany and James Madison, who I worked with the addiction for a few of the players up at James Madison. Beautiful school. I love it up there. He's an average in college. He was playing lower competition for the most part, and he didn't blow the doors off. He has some big games, 80, 90, 100 yards, but only 3 or 4 catches. He's never had more than 2 touchdowns in a game. I don't know. He makes me nervous. I don't think that he's the guy that's probably going to come in and light it up right away. I think he's going to take a minute, and Jets fans are going to be so upset. If we're looking for the guy to come in right away, I'm not so sure it's Christian Watson. I would love him in the 2nd. All right, one more. Robert Killian, KT's film ain't that good. I disagree. You got to not watch the highlights, Robert. Watch the actual games and how destructive he is to the game. As far as his sack numbers, Karlaftis is the same way. They don't have the actual sacks that you would want to see. But, dude, they destroy the play. That's what they do. He's number 1 in the country in pressures and hurries. And it's he's always back there. So, I don't know. I disagree on Kayvon Thibodeau. I happen to like him a whole bunch. Now, if the character concerns are real, maybe I think bring him onto our team. We got Saleh, we got Ulbrich, we got Carl Lawson. We have some good dudes on this team, good leaders. So I think he would do okay here. Now, that said, I'm a big Karlaftis guy. If Hutch and Thibodeau are gone, I want Karlaftis. I know people disagree with me. I did it all. I started all over from scratch. Watched Jermaine Johnson, watched Trayvon Walker, watched Karlaftis, Thibodeau. Hutch. Again, I like Karlaftis. That's my guy. That's my dude. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Robbie Oak takes us out with good grief. Oh, that's funny. Guys, you're the best. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to get all this going. We got the 10 o'clock mock coming up this Monday. It's our final 10 o'clock mock of the season. I don't even know what we're doing yet. I have some stuff on deck to be special, make something special about it. But guys, thanks for stopping by. As always, I love hanging with you. I love the time I get with you guys. And with that all said, have a great day. And go Jets. I love Jets fans. You name one other organization that deals with the shit that we deal with and is still this passionate. Sure, you got the little segments, the dog pound. But look at the Patriots fans. They just had 20 years of there are kids, there are 20, 21-year-old, 25-year-old people in this world that are Patriots fans who have never known losing. Never in their entire lifetime. They were born into this Belichick-Brady thing, and they have consistently won. They've won 6 Super Bowls. They've been to 9 or whatever it is. And then when they didn't get in there, they were the AFC Championship game or the semifinals or whatever. And what happens the year that Tom Brady leaves? dude, you have droves of people leaving the Patriots. These are diehard Pats fans. This is what they have. Diehard Pats fans going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Why? Because I'm a fucking fan of Tom Brady. Bullshit. What is that?
So like don't have to bend down. And
where are you going to be on draft day? Let's go! I don't think people realize just how many people are coming on over these 3 days.
It's nice to know that our general manager actually has a plan. I'm ready.
Sorry.
Jets have 4 picks in the top 40.
This just might be the most important draft in New York Jets history.
I can't believe this is our 3rd year doing this.
I know, it's like the guest list that we have is anybody and everybody. This is going to be the biggest one of them all.
So it gets bigger every single year. It's awesome.
I love it. I can't wait for it.